Berrien, the answer to that question depends on exactly who you ask. As we showed you last week, the suspect and his family believe the deputy certainly crossed the line, kicking, punching, and tasing him. But the Berrien County Sheriff disagrees. So we traveled hundreds of miles to find independent experts not involved in this particular case to get their take on the multiple police body and dash cam videos we obtained through Freedom of Information Act requests and from law enforcement sources. The arrest unfolded at the Chemical Bank ATM on Main Street in Eau Claire, Michigan back in May.
Go ahead and keep your hands on the bars, all right?
The suspect, assaulting his girlfriend early that morning, was ordered to stay in front of a Berrien Springs patrol car. But you can see on police body and dash cam video obtained by ABC57 News, 38-year-old Daniel White decides to walk away.
Daniel, you're not free to leave.
And White briefly runs off, but then stops and faces the officer, appearing to surrender.
On the ground, right now! On the ground!
That's when Berrien County Sheriff's Deputy Jason Haskins suddenly kicks him in the midsection, then takes White to the ground, and the officers get one handcuff on him.
On the ground! Hey, man, what are you doing? You're under arrest. Put your arm.
Deputy Haskins then uses his taser to get White into the other handcuff.
Oh! On the ground now! What are you doing to me? Put it behind your back! On your back! Put it behind the back! Get it on your back or you get it again! Roll over.
Then Haskins punches White in the head twice.
Oh! Get behind your back! Get your Stop it!
This is Daniel White's mugshot after the arrest, and he did plead guilty to domestic abuse, resisting, and obstruction.
The cop was totally out of line, and nobody should take the beating that young man took.
Daniel White's parents, Tracy and Catherine Richardson of Niles, believe the deputy crossed the line into police brutality. And White did file this handwritten excessive force complaint with Berrien County, but it was quickly dismissed by Sheriff Paul Bailey, who told ABC57 in a statement, quote, Deputy Haskins used reasonable force to both defend himself and arrest Daniel White.
That was a police takedown, that wasn't a fight.
Cynthia Heenan is a longtime civil rights attorney based in Detroit, whose firm once sued the Berrien County Sheriff's Department. We showed her all the dash and body cam videos, along with that mugshot.
Yeah. Got him in the eye. Really good. I think there's definitely some unreasonable and unnecessary force going on there. They're trained that their strongest and first weapon or instrument is their voice, to try to de-escalate a situation. I think that's completely contrary to their training or proper police procedure.
Cops aren't perfect, but we react to your reactions.
Tim Corbett was the longtime head of the St. Joseph County, Indiana Metro Homicide Squad and is now a cold case investigator who's trained hundreds of officers.
Back that up just right a little bit if you would, please.
He views the same video very differently.
Daniel, you're not free to leave.
He was given verbal commands. He walked away from them. He took off running. The police officer didn't force him to run. He did that on his own. If you watch him, he could have gave up his hands. He chose not to. He could have rolled over on his stomach. He chose not to. He could have given up and complied. He chose not to. He brought the use of force to himself.
Officers have to make what we call, split-second decisions.
Professor Eric Barnes teaches criminal justice and police procedure at the University of Detroit Mercy and rose to deputy chief in the Detroit Police Department.
There's several factors that clearly jump out with this. Officers gave him lawful commands, which he ignored.
Daniel, you're not free to leave.
Professor Barnes stops short of calling it excessive force, but says the officer's actions were inappropriate.
Even though the suspect is not complying to the commands that are given and putting up different levels of resistance in there, I find those punches a bit problematic. They're supposed to de-escalate if the situation dictates de-escalation. Each officer is trained on a force continuum. One would have to review the general orders or the procedures and protocols of use of force for this department.
ABC57 News did file this Freedom of Information Act request with the Berrien County Sheriff's Department to review their use of force policy and training manuals, but it was denied. The county's attorney calling them legally exempt from disclosure in this letter, saying, quote, the Berrien County Sheriff's Office's policies, manuals, contain sensitive and confidential information, plans and criteria aimed at assuring the security and safety of officers and citizens, unquote. And when it comes to Deputy Haskins kicking Daniel White in the stomach without warning, our three experts have varying views.
I see the kick as highly problematic and unnecessary level of force.
The kick, I don't find that to be out of line at all.
He just ran up and kicked the guy. No call for that at all. Looks kind of familiar.
And the reason that incident looks familiar to that attorney is because her law firm once sued the Berrien County Sheriff's Department and that same deputy, Jason Haskins, over whether he used too much force in a similar incident. That part of the story coming up next Friday. And if you'd like to see all the videos and make your own determination, just go to our website at ABC57.com. I'm Berrien Conybeare.